Welcome to Wealth Hustle 247 podcast, your trusted guide to financial literacy, business innovation, and entrepreneurial success. Learn how to grow your wealth, make informed decisions, and turn your ideas into profitable ventures.
Inflation got you worried? In this episode, we share 10 wealth growth strategies to help you win against inflation and grow your wealth. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're diving deep into something I think that's been on everyone's minds lately, inflation.
Oh, yeah.
And specifically, how to not just survive it, but kind of like win against it.
Yeah.
We get this awesome source from you guys called Winning Against Inflation. And it's got 10 strategies we're going to explore. So think of this deep dive as your roadmap to like building financial resilience.
That's it. And, it's not just picking one or two of these things. It's about building a whole approach to managing your finances in this environment.
Totally. And let's jump right into the first group, what the source calls wealth building.
Okay.
And it all starts with, you hear this all the time, investing in assets that appreciate over time. But the source kind of goes deeper than just that.
Yeah, it talks about the reasons behind it. Because, with inflation, the money that you have now,
Right.
it's going to be worth less.
Yeah.
So if you just park it in a savings account, it's just going to lose value over time.
It's like watching your money just kind of melt away.
Yeah, exactly.
But the source is saying, like, if you invest in things that grow faster than inflation, you're staying ahead of the game.
Yeah. And the source highlights some big ones: stocks, real estate, and gold. Have you considered any of these in your own investing?
Honestly, they all feel, I don't know, intimidating to me.
Yeah.
Like they're considered classics, but then I just get overwhelmed by the choices.
Yeah.
Like with stocks, I mean, how do you even know which companies are going to do well?
Well, the source gives us some guidance.
Okay.
Looking for companies that have a solid track record, good performance in the past. Those that pay dividends,
Okay.
that's a good sign.
So it's not just about picking a name you recognize.
Right.
It's like actually, like you said, doing your research.
Yeah.
What about real estate? I mean, everyone needs a place to live.
That's true. But it's about more than just, living there yourself.
Okay.
The source says location is key. Think about places where lots of people want to live, a growing population,
Yeah.
and where property values have been going up.
It's like that old saying, location, location, location.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm seeing how much thought goes into choosing the right investments.
Yeah.
Now, what about gold? That just seems so mysterious.
Yeah, gold's interesting. It's often called a safe haven asset. When things get shaky,
Yeah.
investors flock to gold, which can drive up the price. The source suggests, you can invest in physical gold, coins, bars,
Yeah.
or you can do these gold ETFs. They track the price of gold.
So we've got stocks for growth,
Right.
real estate for stability and income, and gold for security in those uncertain times.
Yeah.
It covers all the bases.
Yeah.
But the source says not to put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Right.
That brings us to diversification.
Yeah. Think about it this way. If you were a farmer, would you only plant one crop?
No. If a disease came or the weather was bad, the whole thing's wiped out.
Exactly. It's the same idea with investing. Diversification means spreading your investments across different types of assets: stocks, bonds, commodities, even foreign investments.
The source even mentions crypto, but with a warning about the risks, of course. So I guess even with diversification, got to weigh the potential and the risk.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about diversification is it's even more important during times of high inflation because different assets react differently to rising prices. Some might suffer while others do well.
So a well-diversified portfolio is like a buffer.
Yeah.
Protects your overall wealth.
Right. And, it's not just about diversifying across those different types.
Right.
The source also says to diversify within each one.
Oh, okay. So within stocks, for example.
Yeah. You wouldn't put all your money in one company.
Right.
Or even in one sector. You spread it out.
Oh, I see.
Across different industries, company sizes, different regions even.
So even if one part of the market goes down, your whole portfolio isn't affected.
Yeah, it's all about spreading the risk.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've got building a solid foundation through investments,
Right.
then adding layers of protection through diversification. What's next in this wealth building?
Well, the source uses this phrase that really stuck with me, make your wealth grow passively.
Oh, I like that.
It's all about focusing on income-generating assets.
Ooh. Tell me more.
Imagine having income coming in regularly even as prices are going up.
Okay.
That's passive income. You earn it without actively working for it.
All right, now we're talking. But how do you create these magical streams of passive income?
Well, the source gives a few key income-generating assets.
Right.
Some we've already touched on, like dividend stocks. Those can give you regular income through those dividend payments,
Yeah.
while their value potentially appreciates over time.
Right.
And then real estate rentals, your property generates income as its value rises.
So you're kind of getting paid twice with the rental income and then the potential increase in value.
Exactly. And then there are bonds, specifically a type called TIPS Treasury Inflation Protected Securities.
Oh, wow.
They're designed to adjust their payouts based on inflation.
Sure.
So your returns keep pace with those rising prices.
That sounds like a pretty safe bet during these times.
Yeah, that's a good option.
So we got dividend stocks, real estate rentals, and TIPS. Do you have a favorite?
It depends on the person,
Yeah, that's fair.
their goals, their risk tolerance, and how much money they have to invest.
Right.
Someone just starting out, dividend stocks might be a good starting point.
Right.
Someone with more capital,
Right.
they might want to explore real estate.
That's a good point. Finding the right balance for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've covered investing in appreciating assets, diversifying, and building those passive income streams. Feels like we're on our way to building that solid financial fortress.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Well, this one might sound a little different, but it's really powerful. Investing in yourself.
I love that.
Yeah,
The best investment.
it is. But how does that relate to inflation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, think about it. As inflation rises, companies want skilled employees to keep up with those changing economic conditions. This can actually drive up salaries
Oh, I see.
and create more opportunities for those with those in-demand skills.
So by investing in your skills and knowledge, you're increasing your earning power,
Right.
which can help you stay ahead.
Exactly. And the source gives a few practical suggestions.
Okay.
It says develop those high-income skills, things like technology, finance, AI, healthcare, business. Those are always in high demand.
Yeah. It's not just about formal education, though, right? I mean, it could
Yeah.
be learning new software, online courses,
Yeah.
attending industry conferences.
Exactly. Anything that enhances your skill set makes you more valuable.
Makes you more valuable.
The source also talks about certifications and advanced degrees.
To kind of signal your expertise.
Right.
And don't forget about the gig economy, side hustles.
Oh, yeah.
A great way to get extra income.
Yeah.
Gain experience, maybe explore new career paths.
Such a good reminder. We often think of investing as this outside thing,
Yeah,
but investing in yourself
right. Yourself.
is powerful. Okay, we've covered investments, diversification, passive income, and now self-investment.
Yeah.
That's a pretty comprehensive approach to wealth building.
Yeah, it is. But the source has one more strategy in this cluster. Might be surprising.
Oh.
Reducing debt.
Oh, that is surprising.
Yeah.
Because you'd think with inflation and everything, borrowing more would make sense.
Well, it's true that inflation can make debt cheaper over time, especially with those fixed rate loans.
Right.
But the source says be careful about taking on more debt unless it's used strategically
Okay.
to build wealth.
Gotcha.
The real danger is that high interest debt, like credit cards.
That can quickly get out of control during inflation.
It's like a double whammy. The value of your money's decreasing and you're paying those high interest charges.
Right, exactly. So the source says eliminate that high interest debt. Make that a priority.
Okay.
Leverage that fixed rate debt, like a mortgage, strategically, but only when it's helping you build long-term wealth.
So it's not about avoiding debt completely.
Right.
It's about being smart about it. Debt can be a tool,
It is a tool.
but, got to use it wisely.
So we've got our 5 key strategies for wealth building: investing in assets that appreciate, diversifying, building passive income, investing in yourself, and managing debt strategically.
That's quite a toolkit.
It is.
I'm feeling more empowered just thinking about all these different ways we can take control of our financial futures.
That's the goal.
But there's more, right?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely more to uncover. In our next segment, we're going to dive into the source's strategies for financial defense, which are all about protecting your wealth from the effects of inflation.
Stay tuned. Okay, so we've laid a good foundation
Yeah.
with our wealth building strategies. But this source doesn't stop there.
No, it doesn't.
It talks about what it calls financial defense strategies.
Mm-hmm.
How to safeguard our money from inflation's, sneaky tactics.
Yeah.
So what's the first line of defense?
Well, the source gets pretty practical here. It talks about something we can all do no matter our income or, our investments or whatever.
Mm.
Reducing those unnecessary expenses
Okay.
and living smart, building a strong financial defense in our everyday lives.
Yeah, like tightening the belt, but in a strategic way.
Hmm.
But how do we even know where to start? I mean, everyone's got different spending habits and priorities and all that.
Well, the source says it all starts with awareness. You got to track those expenses.
Mhm.
You'd be surprised how many people don't even know where their money's going each month.
It's so easy to lose track, especially with, all those little purchases here and there. I found using a budgeting app helps me see, like, the big picture.
Exactly. And once you know where your money's going, you can start to see where you can cut back without feeling like you're missing out.
Yeah. The source talks about reducing those luxury expenses and finding cost-effective alternatives.
Yeah, and it's about making choices that match up with your goals.
I recently started making my own coffee at home instead of buying it out every day.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy how much I'm saving.
That's a great example. It's those small changes that add up. The source also says to get creative, find ways to save without sacrificing your lifestyle.
Yeah, like cooking more meals at home, finding free or cheap entertainment,
Yeah.
maybe cutting back on energy use.
Yeah.
It's about being resourceful and finding the joy in the simple things.
Right. It's about shifting that mindset from scarcity to abundance, focusing on what you have, not what you don't.
Totally. Okay, so we've got tracking expenses, cutting back strategically, and getting creative with saving. What's next?
This one's maybe not as exciting as investing in gold or starting a business, but it's important. Taking advantage of tax-efficient investments.
Taxes.
Yeah.
Not the most fun topic, but important for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming the source isn't talking about, tax evasion or anything.
Definitely not. It's all about legally minimizing your tax burden so you can keep more of your money. And this is super important during times of inflation because every dollar counts.
Right, that makes sense. So what are some strategies the source suggests?
Well, it highlights a few key ones, starting with those retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs. Those offer tax-deferred growth,
Okay.
meaning your money grows tax-free until you withdraw it later on.
So you're not only growing your wealth, but also protecting it from those taxes in the present.
Right, which is huge when inflation's high.
Yeah. Any other tax-saving tips from the source?
It also talks about municipal bonds.
Okay.
They provide tax-free interest income,
Okay.
a good option for those looking for, lower risk and those tax benefits.
And then there's tax loss harvesting. That sounds a bit more complicated. What's that all about?
Yeah, that's a bit more advanced, but basically it's a strategy to offset your gains with any investment losses, to reduce your overall taxes.
Oh, okay.
It can be really effective if you have a larger portfolio.
Gotcha. So we've got retirement accounts, municipal bonds, and tax loss harvesting. Sounds like a whole tax-saving toolkit right there.
It is. It just goes to show that being smart about taxes can be just as important as investing well.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we've covered cutting expenses, living smart, and now optimizing our taxes. What's the last piece?
This one might be the most tangible and kind of interesting of all, storing wealth in hard assets. The source really paints this picture of like assets you can touch, hold,
Okay.
and how they can hold their value.
Right. Especially with all this inflation. It's like having a real, tangible safety net.
Exactly.
But what exactly are hard assets?
They're assets with that intrinsic value based on their physical properties and the fact that there's a limited supply. A few examples the source gives are commodities like oil, gas, agricultural products.
Right. Those are essential. People need those no matter what.
Yeah. And their prices tend to rise as inflation goes up.
Makes sense. What other hard assets?
It also mentions collectibles, those rare items like art, vintage cars, even luxury watches. Those can appreciate in value over time.
They're like little pieces of history, right, that hold their value.
Exactly. And finally, there's farmland. As the population keeps growing and food prices go up,
Yeah.
farmland becomes more and more valuable. It's a finite resource. It's essential.
So we've got those three categories. Commodities because they're essential.
Yeah.
Collectibles because they're rare and historic.
Mm-hmm.
And farmland for its crucial role in food production. It's like having a portfolio, but of tangible stuff that can survive the ups and downs.
Exactly. It just goes to show there are so many ways to protect your wealth.
Okay, so we've come a long way. From wealth building with investing and diversification to financial defense with cutting expenses, taxes, and these hard assets.
Yeah.
Feels like we've built a solid financial fortress.
We have, but no fortress is totally safe without a watchful eye, right?
Yep.
That's where the last strategy comes in, staying informed and adapting quickly, keeping an eye on the economy and being ready to change your strategies.
It's like having a weather vane on our fortress,
Yeah.
letting us know which way the wind is blowing.
Yeah, good analogy.
But with all this information out there, how do we stay informed without getting overwhelmed?
That's a great question, and that's what we're going to dive into next.
So we've talked about building wealth and having those defenses, but like you said, got to stay informed, got to adapt.
Yeah, it's almost like the glue that holds all these other strategies together.
Yeah, keeps it all running. But how do we even stay informed? There's so much financial news flying around. How do you filter out, all the noise?
Well, you have to be picky. Don't chase those headlines or like the hottest takes you see.
Right.
You got to look for sources that are known to be accurate, balanced, those with real in-depth analysis.
So quality over quantity. But even with good sources, how do we use all that information? It's easy to get stuck in analysis paralysis, right?
Yeah, and that's where critical thinking comes in. Don't just absorb it all passively. Engage with it. Does it make sense? What are their biases?
Yeah.
How does this affect my decisions?
So it's like becoming your own financial detective.
Exactly. And remember, things change all the time. What worked before may not work now. So be prepared to adjust those strategies.
Yeah, stay flexible. So staying informed isn't a one-time thing. It's like this ongoing process of learning and adapting, a lifelong journey, right?
It is. And, you don't have to do this alone.
Right.
There are a lot of resources to help you stay informed.
Yeah, like financial advisors, good websites,
Yeah.
podcasts like this one even.
Right. Books and articles by people you trust.
Build that network, right?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions. The more you know, the better decisions you make.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up, got to touch on something. The emotional side of dealing with inflation.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's easy to feel that anxiety, especially when you see those headlines, prices going up and all the uncertainty.
Totally. Those feelings are real, but, fear doesn't really help,
No.
especially with money. Leads to bad choices.
So how do we stay, grounded?
Yeah.
Make rational decisions, even when, we're freaking out a little?
One thing you can do is focus on what you can control. You can't control those big things, inflation rates, or the global economy.
Right.
But you can control your spending, your saving, your investments.
It's about shifting focus to the things we can actually do something about.
Exactly. And it's good to remember, inflation comes and goes. It's been around forever.
It's cyclical.
Exactly. So instead of panicking, over those short-term things, focus on building that solid foundation that can handle anything.
Long-term thinking.
Invest in those assets we talked about, the ones that do well against inflation. Diversify that portfolio, build up different income streams.
Yeah.
And keep learning.
Play the long game. Don't get caught up in the day-to-day.
Right. And remember, this financial well-being thing, it's a journey, not a destination.
It's a process.
Learning, adapting, making changes as you go.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So, as we wrap up this deep dive on winning against inflation, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
We've covered all kinds of strategies, but in the end, the biggest thing is your mindset.
I agree. Your mindset really does shape things.
If you believe you can do well, even with inflation, you're more likely to make it happen.
That's true.
Cultivate that growth mindset. Embrace challenges, keep learning.
The best time to get ready for inflation, well, maybe it was yesterday, but the next best time is now.
Exactly. So what will you do today?
Thanks for joining us.
We hope you found it valuable. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing.
That's it for today's episode of Wealth Hustle 247. Be sure to follow, comment, and share with others. Keep pushing toward your goals, and we'll see you in the next episode.